Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Radha Radhanath ki Jai. Shri Giri Govardhan ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai. Sankirtan Yagya ki Jai. Go Premanande. All glories to this Amar devotee. All glories to this Amar devotee. All glories to this Amar devotee. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Well, we were led to believe it was just going to be a handful of us.
No, it is a handful. So they haven't watched. I don't know how we're going to fit them, but
You're only allowed 30 people, right?
In the house? Because you said we restricted with.
no. Well, I don't know if government's restricted. We do.
Okay, well, devotees, you know what? Anyway, I'm extremely happy to be here in Nrsinga Prabhu and Ravita Mataji's lovely house. And particularly, I'm very happy having had some lovely prasadam. And yeah, you can really look forward to it, actually. And I was requested, ordered, asked to say something about Lord Caitanya, the mercy of Lord Caitanya. That sort of idea.
So why we chose that? Well, we went to India in December, and one of the highlights of the trip was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house. You know, it's peaceful. It's just something else. The mood is nice there. You know, although it was quiet, no one was there. It was actually the best spot. So yeah, that's I said this is.
You were all there.
Yeah.
Right? Really? And Arjuna too?
Yeah.
You were there? Okay. Yes, well, fine. Right? So I was just looking up a few things. Because I was thinking it would be nice to maybe say some things that some, or I don't know, maybe all, but at least some of you might not be so familiar with. Not sort of the same old thing. I mean, it's never just the same old thing, but you know, something different from what you might be a little used to. So I looked up a few things. Let's see how it goes. First of all, some prayers. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasya Chadi Chatarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivastadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakaptarubhyascha kripa sindhu yadevascha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So yes, devotees. Some or all of you, at least some of you, may be familiar with these different stories. That's fine. Because Srila Prabhupada said, repetition of a good thing is good. So, so it's okay if you've heard it all before. But let me start with a story. Anyway, let's just see. This is a story, actually, it's about Srila Prabhupada in regard to Lord Caitanya. And in the early days of ISKCON, when Prabhupada had taken some devotees to India, and they traveled around. And at one point they were in Calcutta, and they actually had rented what is still to this day is our temple in Calcutta. I don't know if you've been to that place. So the landlord, at that point at least, a man named Mr. Roy, and like, you know, you get some people in India and they already know it all, if you know what I mean. That sort of idea. They think they do. And they like you to tell you, they like to tell you what they know, supposedly know. So Mr. Roy, one day he sort of cornered one of the devotees, Achyutananda, and said to him that, you know, Lord Caitanya is the supreme. Radha and Krishna are less. Yeah, Radha and Krishna are less. Lord Caitanya is the supreme. He is the original, and that's how it is. And he said, and Lord Caitanya is nicer and he is sweeter. This is this gentleman's theory. Don't worry about it too much. So the man said, yes, I can give you an example. He said, just like milk and sugar as opposed to rasgulla, which is better? Rasgulla, yeah. So like this, he was sort of trying to show off, this gentleman. But this devotee, he was relatively new devotee, I don't know. Maybe he'd been a devotee, I suppose, maximum 4 or 5 years, something like that, or less. So he became confused, and he went back to Srila Prabhupada and asked him that, who is the original? Is it Lord Caitanya, or is it Radha and Krishna? Because this man, he was saying Radha and Krishna are like milk and sugar, and Lord Caitanya is like rasgulla. Do you like rasgulla? Do you like? I prefer rasmalai. But rasgulla is also nice. So yeah, so this man said, you know, Radha and Krishna, they're like milk and sugar. Lord Chaitanya is like rasgulla, and he's sweeter. And Prabhupada said, well, you know, he said it's actually correct in one sense that Radha and Krishna are like milk and sugar. That's the original. That's where you get rasgulla from. You know how to make rasgulla? Anyway, and then but this devotee Achyutananda, he said, well, all right, I understand that, but then who is greater? Is it Lord Chaitanya, or is it Radha and Krishna? And Srila Prabhupada paused momentarily, and he closed his eyes. And there was a picture in the room. I don't think we have it here, but in Radharadhanath temple, in front, in the temple room area, is just, you know, the first picture directly straight in front of the altar is a picture of, you know what I mean? Say the altar, look, here's the altar. So this is the Radharanath altar. And now here, this is the temple room. And straight in front is the big picture of Radha and Krishna. And what are they doing? Anyway, don't stress. But how many times have you been in the temple? We should notice these things. There's a picture of Radha and Krishna, you got it? But what is Krishna doing? He is making a garland for Radharani, who is just coming around the corner. You remember now? Yes, so Prabhupada, there was, in that room where Prabhupada was at that time, there was such a picture. In fact, it was a picture, Radharani is sitting on a sort of raised, maybe like a chair or some sort of raised little thing, and Krishna is kneeling down in front of Radharani and massaging her feet, which is, related to that picture in Radharanath temple where Krishna is serving Srimati Radharani. So now Prabhupada is answering this question, who is the greatest? And Prabhupada said, so is it Radha and Krishna, or is it Lord Caitanya? Who is it? And Prabhupada, like I said, he closed his eyes and became thoughtful. And Prabhupada said, Radharani is the greatest. Yes. And then Prabhupada said, actually the devotees are the greatest. And therefore Krishna becomes the servant of the devotees. And that's what's in that picture there in Radharanath temple. And next time, notice it. Right? Notice it. It's very beautiful. The devotees are so special. Krishna worships the devotees. He serves them, he worships them. But anyway, here's another. Had you heard that story before? Had you heard it? Had you heard it? It actually comes from Giriraj Maharaj. Yeah. But anyway, here's another story, which you may or may not have heard before. Let's see. Lord Caitanya was staying actually Lord Caitanya was on his way to Vrindavan. Actually, he was making his first attempt. He didn't actually make it to Vrindavan. He just got a little further than Ramakeli, and then he went back to Puri. And then later he actually went to Vrindavan. So anyway, he was on his way, but he went to this place, Ramakeli, and frankly, I've never been there. I've been sort of, Mayapur area, even Mayapur, Calcutta area, I've been, all over. But this is now north. It's north of Mayapur. I believe it's about 400 kilometers. It is a way. So Lord Caitanya had gone there because he wanted to meet Rupa and Sanatan, yes, who were at the time working for the government of Bengal, which was a Muslim government. And there was a Muslim governor, not exactly a king, but just next one down from a king. Governor, he's ruling that particular area, big area. His name was Hussain Shah. quite a famous person, actually. So Hussein Shah was no Muslims here, right?
Neighbors much.
But you lie.
So but anyway, he was one of these unfriendly Muslims. In fact, he was very aggressive, and he would kill Hindus. They use that as a sort of umbrella term, the Hindus. He was staunchly anti-Hindu. Oh, and like a really dangerous, nasty, envious man. And Lord Chaitanya and that Ramakeli, north of Mayapur, that was where the government of Bengal was at that time. And that's why Rupa and Sanatan were living there, because they were members of the government, the Muslim government. So anyway, this Hussein Shah, the governor, he had a minister of Hindu affairs. His name was Keshav Khan, and he was a devotee. He was very nice. So now Lord Chaitanya has decided to come there to Ramakeli to meet Rupa and Sanatan, but Hussein Shah was there. So Keshav Khan, the Minister of Hindu Affairs, working with Hussein Shah, he was really in anxiety. What is this Hussein Shah going to do? Is he going to attack Lord Chaitanya? Try to kill him? Or, make some big trouble for Lord Chaitanya? So he didn't know what to do. But Lord Chaitanya was coming, and the word was spreading. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be here tomorrow. And so Hussein Shah approached Keshav Khan, and he said, "Who is this Chaitanya? Who is he?" And Keshav Khan tried to sort of play it down, minimize. So Keshav Khan said, "Who? Who's coming?" And Hussein Shah said, "Chaitanya. You must know who Chaitanya is. He's one of your big Hindu people." And Keshav Khan said, "Oh, you mean that fellow? Chaitanya, oh, don't worry about him. He's just, he's not important at all. Just, you don't need to worry about him. You got more important things to think about." And so, Lord Chaitanya is meant to arrive the next day. During the day, different news reports were coming in about Lord Chaitanya. CNN was working, even Fox News. Anyway, so these reports were coming in. Chaitanya is coming, and he's doing this, and he's doing that, and he's having kirtan, and there's at least 1 million people with him. These reports are coming to Hussein Shah, and he's asking Keshav Khan, "Who is this Chaitanya? Who is this? 1 million people with him. Oh, that's amazing." And then some reports about the kirtan and what Lord Chaitanya was saying. And Hussein Shah, he keeps asking Keshav Khan, "Who is he? Tell me about him. I want to know." And Keshav Khan's trying to just play it down. "No, don't. He's just, he's a religious fanatic. He's surrounded by fanatics. So it's not important. You just govern run the government. Don't worry about this Caitanya. Then suddenly in the afternoon, Hussain Shah said, I want to know about this Caitanya. And he said, you know what I have heard? I have heard he is the same person the Hindus call Krishna. And Keshava Khan didn't know what to say. No, it's just someone got carried away. And Hussain Shah said, no, I think it's true. I think he is the same Krishna. And the Muslims, they have a name, maybe you don't know. Khoda. Khoda is a name of the Muslims for Allah. Khoda. I think he's the same Khoda. I think he's the same Krishna. And Keshava Khan is just astonished. What's happened now? Now he's appreciating Lord Caitanya. What is this? I can't believe it. What are we going to do? And then Hussain Shah said, send out an order, a royal decree. No one must interfere with this Caitanya. If he ever needs anything, he must be given it. Whatever he needs. If he needs food, if he needs a place to stay, give it to him. Free. And Keshava Khan couldn't believe it. What's happened? Yeah, what's happened now? So, it was just amazing. Hussain Shah, this demon, this super demon, now he's just talking about this Caitanya is wonderful. He must be given all facility. If anyone interferes with him, I will have him hung. Right, totally into it. So then Lord Caitanya came. And Hussain Shah came out to meet him, riding on horseback. And Keshava Khan was there. And Keshava Khan's thinking, what's he going to do? What's going to happen? Suddenly Hussain Shah, he's kind of riding on the horse very slowly, moving towards Lord Caitanya. Lord Caitanya came out from where he was standing. Hussain Shah fell off the horse onto the ground. And he tried to stand up. He couldn't stand up. He just fell to the ground again. And he just crawled over to Lord Caitanya and took hold of Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet. This is fanatical Muslim. And he stayed there for a moment. Then he got up, and he left. And all the devotees were there. And they came to Lord Caitanya and said, did you see that? That was Hussain Shah. He is just the demon to end all demons. He's just the worst, the most horrible person. But see what hearing about you has done to him. It's unbelievable. It's completely unbelievable. And then he saw you. He offered obeisances to you. This is completely incredible. And all the devotees were telling Lord Caitanya, we never saw anything slightly like this before. Even a little bit. We never saw anything like this. And then Lord Caitanya stood up And Lord Chaitanya said, you think that was wonderful? You think that was wonderful? Just wait and see. Just wait and see. And Lord Chaitanya spoke the famous verse, Priti Viti Achiyata Nagaradigram Sarvatra Prachara Hoime Moranam. In every town and village on the face of this planet, my holy names will be chanted. And when that happens, that will be amazing. And this is nothing. Wait for that to happen. So that's what happened. That's when Lord Chaitanya spoke that verse. And you know, Krishna consciousness has reached, are we in Newlands West here? Or Newlands East?
Newlands West.
Krishna consciousness has reached Newlands West. To ISKCON Newlands West. And that's amazing. It's truly amazing how Lord Chaitanya's network is just spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading. So, had you heard that story? Oh, you had? Okay. Let me tell you another story. See if you've heard of this one. Lord Chaitanya was doing Harinam. This is before he took sannyas. He's living in Navadvip. He was doing Harinam and going all over, and in the middle of the day, they'd take a break, they'd lie down and take a break from the Harinam. And sometimes Lord Chaitanya would have Katha, Krishna Katha, and while everyone's lying down, all the devotees in a whole Sankirtan party, they're all lying down and resting. So there was this one devotee. His name was Vijay. Vijay. You know the story of Vijay? I don't think you do. So Lord Chaitanya, they're lying down. Lord Chaitanya is lying next to Vijay. And Lord Chaitanya put his hand out and took the hand of Vijay. They're lying there. And Vijay's lying there. Suddenly, Vijay, as Lord Chaitanya is holding his hand, Vijay starts getting visions, like miraculous visions. And he sees Lord Chaitanya dressed as the Supreme Personality of Godhead with incredible jewelry, bangles all down his arms, anklets up from his ankles up to his knees, and big earrings, and so on and so forth. And all these gems, the types of gems we've never seen before, like heavenly, transcendental gems. And amazing sight. And Lord Chaitanya is just effulgent, and the gems are just effulgent, and the effulgence, the radiance is spreading out through the universe all the way up to Brahmaloka, to the planet of Lord Brahma. And Vijay's lying there, and he's seeing this. in front of him as he's lying there with Lord Chaitanya and the other devotees. So then, suddenly, Vijay became overwhelmed, completely overwhelmed. And he was just about to call out, just shout out. What do you think he was going to shout out? Gauranga! What was he going to shout out?
Gauranga!
Not like that. It was more like, Gauranga!
Gauranga!
He was just about to shout out. And Lord Chaitanya is lying there holding his hand. Suddenly Lord Chaitanya rolled over and put his hand right over his mouth. And Lord Chaitanya told him, as long as I'm present in Navadvip, you should not speak about this to anyone. So then everyone's lying down, but Vijay, he jumped up and he started just running around, shouting and jumping and calling out. What was he calling out? Gauranga! Yeah, just going wild. And Lord Chaitanya turned to the other devotees, and Lord Chaitanya said, what happened to Vijay? And all the devotees said, well, we don't know. It's maybe you gave him some special mercy. Yeah, maybe it's because of the Ganges is close by, and he got some mercy from Mother Ganga. So anyway, Vijay, for the following week, he was just a transcendental madman, just running around and calling out. What was he calling out?
Gauranga!
Just Gauranga, just running around, and people would stop him and say, what's going on? Gauranga, that's all he did. For 1 week. For 1 week. He was just in transcendental madness, ecstasy. Then suddenly, after 1 week, he came back to normal. Yes. So, had you heard that story before? Had you heard it? You heard that?
Came back to abnormal.
Yes, well, let me tell you another one, and some of you probably would be familiar with this. Srinivasacharya. His appearance place is near Mayapur. It's about 30 kilometers north. Chakandi. So before he was born, his parents, they had wanted to have children, but they hadn't had any children at all, and now they're sort of kind of middle-aged, and normally people wouldn't really be able to have children so much at that sort of age. But they decided one time, let us go to Puri and visit Lord Chaitanya and get his mercy. So they went down and they asked Lord Chaitanya, well, they didn't ask. They just came before Lord Chaitanya, offered their obeisances, and Lord Chaitanya just told them, you are going to give birth to a boy who's going to become a great devotee. Wow. How did he know that? Well, of course, he's Lord Chaitanya, so he knew. So anyway, the father of Srinivas, so they went back, and the wife gave birth to Srinivas Acharya, one of our great acharyas. But the father, he became obsessed with Lord Chaitanya. He would just move around, and all he'd do was say, Chaitanya, Chaitanya, Chaitanya. And people would ask him, how are you doing? And he'd just say, Chaitanya, Chaitanya. Would you like some prasadam? Chaitanya, Chaitanya. What are you going to do today? Chaitanya, Chaitanya. Really? So he had a name, I forget what his name was, but they just renamed him Caitanya Das. Caitanya Das. And you can read about Caitanya Das. So, but then Srinivas, he's like, and he's growing up, he's like probably 15 or 16, and they're living there near Mayapur. Then news came that that Advaita Acharya had sent a cryptic message to Lord Chaitanya. You heard about that, the cryptic message. The cryptic message was that, what is it now? That in the marketplace, in the marketplace, everyone has bought all the chawla. Hare Krishna. Wow. Who's this one? Oh. He said, yeah. Everyone has bought the chawla. You know what chawla means? It means rice in Bengali. Chawla, like chawal in Hindi. But in Bengali it's chawla. Yes. There is no more sale of chawla. Everyone has got chawla. And now everyone has become baula. Baula means insane. Yeah. Everyone's become baula, and there is no more sale of chawla. And when Lord Chaitanya got this message, he said, he has spoken. He who called the deity to come is now telling the deity to go. He's talking about himself. Because Lord Chaitanya, he came because Advaita Acharya called him. But now, he is telling the deity to go. So everyone understood, Lord Chaitanya is going to leave this world. So Srinivas Acharya heard that. He's just a young fellow. He's about, what's your age, Arjuna? 12. Slightly older than you. What's your age?
10.
Oh. Anyone 16 here? Okay. So he's about 16. And Srinivas decided, because the word was, Lord Chaitanya is going to disappear. So Srinivas thought, I must go and meet him. So from Navadvip, Srinivas ran to Jagannath Puri. He ran all the way. It's like 600-700 kilometers. He ran. got to meet Lord Chaitanya. I got to meet him before he leaves this world. I must meet him. So he's just approaching Jagannath Puri, and he meets a small group of pilgrims coming out of Puri, and they're in a very emotional state. And he asked them, what happened? And they said, you know what? Caitanya Mahaprabhu just left this world. And Srinivas, he missed the opportunity. So, but he went in anyway, and he met Gadadhar. Gadadhar was great scholar and great Bhagavatam reciter. So he stayed with Gadadhar for weeks, just hearing the Bhagavatam, and in a very emotional state because he just missed Lord Chaitanya. Then one day he thought, I know what I must do. I must go back to Bengal and meet Nityananda. That's what I must do. Because he's the same as Lord Chaitanya. I must meet Nityananda and just take shelter of Nityananda. So he ran all the way back to Bengal, to sort of almost Navadvip area, kind of near to Calcutta. And it's called Kanchapada. And he's running, and he's just approaching Kanchapada when he sees a small group of pilgrims coming out, heading towards him. And they're in very emotional condition. And he asked them what happened. And they said, you know, Nityananda just left this world. He just left this world. And Srinivas thought, I'm finished. I'm completely finished. What to do? He's just totally overwhelmed. Then he thought, I know. I have to go back to Puri. I shouldn't have left. I have to go back, and I'll just take shelter of Gadadhar, and I'll just stay with him. And that's what I'll do. So he turned around, and he ran back to Puri. And he's just entering the town, and this group of pilgrims is coming out, and they're in very emotional condition. And he asked them, what happened? And they said, you know, Gadadhar just left this world. So this is too much, you know. Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, now Gadadhar. What am I going to do? What can I do? Then he thought, I know. I will go to Vrindavan. I'll take shelter of Rupa and Sanatana. That's what I'll do. That's what I'll do. So he ran to Vrindavan. It is 2,000 kilometers. And he ran. And by the time he got there, because he's been running. He's just entering Vrindavan town. He got to Mathura, passed through Mathura. Now he's just entering Vrindavan town. And take a guess what happened. A small group of pilgrims coming out. And they're very emotional. And he asked them, what happened? And they said, you won't believe it. Rupa and Sanatana just left this world. So Srinivas thought, that's it. That's the end. That's the end. There's no one left. I don't know what to do. I'll just go to the Radha Govinda temple and just lie down and give up my life. So he went there to the Radha Govinda temple. And he just sort of crawled in and collapsed on one side, just near the entrance of the Radha Govinda temple, and he's just about to leave his body. So he's lying there. And what should happen? But one sannyasi came, about the same age as him, and knelt down next to him and asked him, "What's your name?" And Srinivas told him, "Yes, I'm Srinivas, the son of Caitanya Das." And the sannyasi said, "Yeah, we're expecting you." And Srinivas asked him, "So what is your name, Maharaj?" And the sannyasi answered him, my name is Jiva Goswami." So then he took charge of Jiva Goswami and nursed him back to health. And then Srinivas became a student of his with Narottam and Shamananda. The three of them became the students of Jiva Goswami. Have you heard that story before? Yeah. I mean, there's a bit more to it. It's sort of slightly abbreviated version. But yeah, there's some pretty intense things. One of Lord Chaitanya's really close devotees was Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta was a doctor. A dentist, no doctor. And they were school friends. And Murari, his family, they were devotees. And Gadadhar was in the same class, and his family were devotees. And Gadadhar was a devotee. And Murari Gupta and Mukunda Dat, they're all in the same class, and they're all devotees, like really fired up devotees. Talk about 16 rounds a day while at school. 16. What about 16,000? So every day they would preach to Lord Caitanya. Because Lord Caitanya, anyway, we all know who Lord Caitanya is, but at that point, he was not showing himself as a devotee or as the Lord or as anything, except he was like a genius scholar. They were studying Sanskrit, and he was just like the most incredible Sanskrit scholar. Hear something complex one time, he's got it. And he was very sort of arrogant, kind of arrogant. He would start debates and defeat whoever, his school friend, defeat him completely and mock him and tell him, you stupid, why don't you know this and that? Come on. And embarrass them. And then he'd say, look, I tell you what, because they're debating some point, I will take the point that you were trying to establish, and I will establish that. And you take the point which I established and I defeated you with, you take it, and then you debate that with me. You get the idea? And then taking the point the other boy had tried unsuccessfully to argue, Lord Caitanya would completely smash the boy who's now arguing with his point. And it was just too much. In fact, it got so much that when the boys, they're walking in the street, when they would see, here comes Nimai Pandit, they would quickly turn the other way. And whoever was with Lord Caitanya, with Nimai, they'd ask him, why do you think that boy turned off the other way? And Nimai would say, well, I guess he had some business. And the other boy would say, no, I think he's scared of meeting you. You're going to debate with him. So one day, Nimai, Lord Caitanya, cornered Mukunda and wouldn't let him go. And Lord Caitanya told him, listen, you keep telling me I should become a devotee. Right. And Mukunda said, right. Yes. And Nimai said, aren't you tired of this? Trying to get me to become a devotee? Aren't you tired of it? And Mukunda said, yes. He's just not enthusiastic at all. And Lord Caitanya said, all right. I'll tell you what then. I'll become a devotee then. That's what you want, isn't it? That's what you want? I'll become a devotee. And Mukunda's like, what? I can't believe it. Could it be true? Or is he just joking? And then Lord Caitanya said, I'll become a devotee. I will become such a devotee. You will never have seen a devotee like me. I'll become such a devotee. Everyone will come and offer obeisances to me. I'll become such a devotee. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva will come and offer obeisances to me. I'll become such a devotee. And Mukunda is just like, he just doesn't, this boy is too much. I can't believe it. But then Lord Caitanya, he then manifested himself as a devotee, started manifesting himself. But anyway, Murari Gupta, he was a doctor. I mean, when he was an adult, he was a doctor, but he was a very ecstatic devotee. And sometimes he would just start chanting and shouting and his wife was nice devotee, very nice devotee, very humble devotee, just assisting her husband and doing whatever he wants. And if he ever gets a little carried away, she wouldn't worry about it. So one day, she cooked rice for him. Fresh rice with ghee, just rice with ghee, yeah. And he would mix it up, and then he would start throwing it around, just throwing it, and calling out, Krishna, come on, eat. Give me some more rice and ghee. And his wife would just bring some more. And she wouldn't say, why are you throwing it around? What do you need more for? She would just bring him some more rice. And he'd take the rice, mix some ghee with it, and throw it. Come on, Krishna, eat. And his wife was just smiling, and everything was fine. So then, the next day, the next morning, who should come to their front door but Nimai, Lord Caitanya, knocked on the door, opened the door, and Murari welcomed him. Oh, come in, how nice. What can I do for you? And Lord Caitanya said, you know, I've got this terrible indigestion. And you've got to help me cure it. And Murari Gupta said, indigestion, really? How did you get it? And Lord Caitanya said, it was all the rice you fed me yesterday. And you're throwing it on the ground. I was eating it off the ground. And just more and more rice with ghee. And I ate so much. Now I've got indigestion. So now you've got to give me some medicine. So he did, yeah. Well, actually, no, you know what happened? Lord Caitanya said, you know what? The cure is to drink water. And he grabbed Murari Gupta's, his water pot, his personal water pot, and just started drinking and drinking and drinking from Murari Gupta's water pot. Yes, so. And Murari, when he saw this mercy of Lord Caitanya, he was so overwhelmed, he just fell on the ground unconscious. Have you heard that story before? Sorry. Yeah. Well, you know, there is one other story. I mean, there's a number of other stories I could tell you. There is one, it is slightly X-rated. And so I don't know that parents might not appreciate it. So the children might have to block your ears. And it's a really, out of this world story. Lord Caitanya was in the main street. He's still at school. And Murari is still at school. But Murari Gupta is walking in the street with some older person who is like a Mayavadi, that sort of philosopher, impersonal philosopher. And the philosopher is speaking to Murari and saying, yes, yes, it's all one. And Murari's going, yes, yes, very good, very good. And, you know, and yes, and we're all God. And Murari's, yes, very good, very good. And Nimai, Lord Chaitanya's hearing this and thinking, what is this rubbish? Lord Caitanya has not revealed himself yet. He's still at school. It's still a few years before he reveals himself. Lord Caitanya, Nimai, started walking right behind Murari Gupta. Sometimes, at least when I was at school, we do it as a joke. You walk following someone in front of you, walking in their footsteps, like, you know, that far behind them. And it's meant to be a joke. That's what we would do sometimes. So Lord Caitanya is walking behind Murari and saying, oh yes, very good, like sarcastic. Very good, very nice. And Murari hears this, but he couldn't see Lord Caitanya because he's right behind him. Then he turned and he saw, Nimai, what are you doing? You shouldn't be doing this. No, that's not nice. You're meant to be from a good family. Don't be rude. And Nimai told him, you're talking this nonsense. You just wait. I'm going to come and see you at lunchtime. And then I'll let you know how I feel about this. You know the story, don't you? Anyway. So, okay, lunchtime comes. And actually, Murari was older, was a bit older. He was married already. So Murari sits down to have lunch, and his wife brings him nice plate of prasad, Bengali prasad. So you know what that means? It means rice, white rice, and shark, spinach, a couple of different types of spinach. So, okay, there's Murari, he's sitting down and he's just about to go for it, when suddenly there is Nimai. How did you get in? There's Nimai, little, not so little, but still young, Lord Caitanya, dressed as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with ornaments, crown, opulent clothing, and all that. And Lord Caitanya said, you remember what I said, right? I said I'd come and visit you and tell you what I think about this. It's all one stuff. And Murari just was sitting there looking up. And you know what Lord Caitanya did? If you don't know, you should lock your ears. If you're under... It's all right. Lord Caitanya did an extremely transcendental thing. He urinated on Murari's plate of prasadam. And Murari couldn't believe it. And Lord Caitanya said, that's what I think about you. It's all one. And we're all God. That's what I think. And Murari Gupta's just looking at this mess. And then he looked up, and Lord Caitanya had vanished. He was just not there. And Murari understood, I know who he is. He is Krishna. And he has appeared to save me. So Murari went running around to Lord Chaitanya's house. When he got there was Lord Caitanya in his school clothes, like he just came from school, sitting on his mother's lap. And in comes running Murari Gupta, and he throws himself on the floor in front of Lord Caitanya. And Lord Caitanya says to Mother Sachi, Mata, look, it's Murari. It's Murari Gupta. He's come to visit us. And Lord Caitanya offered obeisances to Murari. And Mother Sachi asked Murari, why did you offer obeisances to my boy? What did you do that for? And then Murari understood, it's a secret. So he said, well, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, you heard that story before. Sorry about that. Yes, okay. So, last but not least, I mean, there's many. Let me tell you a few things that happened during the Mahaprakash Leela. Mahaprakash Leela. Lord Caitanya in Mahaprakash Leela, he started Mahaprakash Leela, or Shataprahariya Bhava, his ecstasy of 21 hours. In the place of Srivas Thakur, he went to the altar and moved the Shalagram Shila to the side of the altar. And you know what Lord Caitanya did? You know what he did? You know what he did? Lord Caitanya sat on the altar. Don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, Lord Chaitanya sat on the altar and then started calling the devotees for 21 hours. He was just calling one devotee after another, and explaining how they had met him before he had appeared as Lord Chaitanya, either in one of his other incarnations, or he had just, before he had appeared as Lord Chaitanya, he had just descended from Vaikuntha just to be with them briefly, and then he went back to Vaikuntha. So there's some really interesting ones. One, Srivas Thakur, not Srinivas, but Srivas Thakur from the Panchatattva. He was a Bhagavatam scholar. He was a real, Bhagavatam specialist. And there was this one Bhagavatam scholar in Navadvip called Devananda Pandit, who was not a devotee, but he was very well versed in the Bhagavatam. So Srivas Thakur, one day he thought, I should go and hear this man speak on Bhagavatam. He's quite famous. Let me go hear him. So he went down to this little ashram, and he's sitting there hearing the Bhagavatam. And Srivas Thakur became ecstatic, became overwhelmed, and he started rolling on the ground and crying out. And the other students who were there, they're sort of like impersonalists, and they saw, what is this fellow doing? So Devananda told them, pick him up, take him out, just put him outside. So they did that. And Srivas Thakur, before he knew it, he came back to external consciousness, lying on the ground outside. And he thought, wow, they threw me out. I must have offended the Bhagavatam. So Srivas, for some weeks, he went into the state of extreme depression that I offended the Bhagavatam. I offended the Bhagavatam. And he'd pick up the Bhagavatam and look at it, but he just couldn't read it. He just put it down again and cried, I offended the Bhagavatam. So Lord Chaitanya, he's called Srivas in this meeting with all these devotees at the Mahaprakash Leela. He called Srivas and he said, you remember, you were depressed. You couldn't even read the Bhagavatam. You felt you'd offended it. Then suddenly one day you just felt inspired again. And then you started reading the Bhagavatam again. And it was nectar. And Srivas said, yes, that was amazing. I don't know what happened. I got some special mercy. And Lord Chaitanya said, yes, I descended from Vaikuntha. And I entered your heart as you were trying to read the Bhagavatam. And suddenly you were able to enter into the Bhagavatam. So Srivas, and then Srivas was able to ecstatically study the Bhagavatam. So Srivas was just overwhelmed. One other devotee approached Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya called him. And Lord Chaitanya said, you remember, you had a fever. It was so bad. It was so bad. You couldn't get hold of Ishvara Puri. He wasn't answering his phone. And the pediatric oncologist, you couldn't get hold of her either. And you thought, that's it. It's the end. That's it. I've had it. I'm just going to die. So you lay down, just preparing to leave your body. Then suddenly, a doctor you'd never ever met before just suddenly appeared in the room and said, I have some medicine, take this. And you took the medicine, and immediately you were cured, and you looked around to thank the doctor, but the doctor was not there any longer. He just vanished. Lord Caitanya told him, that doctor was me. I descended from Vaikuntha to save you. And then there's this one devotee, Gangadas, who had been a teacher of Lord Chaitanya's at school. And Lord Caitanya told Gangadas, you remember, before I appeared, quite some time before I appeared, the Muslims attacked your village. And they're coming from one end of the village, coming through towards your end. You remember that? Gangadas said, yes, I remember that. I could hear them, the screaming, as they're coming closer and closer, killing people and just... So I grabbed my family and just ran until we came to the bank of the Ganges. But it was the middle of the night. And I'm looking down, up and down the river. Where's a boat? But it's the middle of the night. There's no boat. There's no boatman. But I hear the screaming and shouting and smashing and everything coming closer and closer. And Lord Chaitanya is telling him this. And you were thinking, I don't want to see what they do to my wife and my daughters. So you thought, I'll just kill myself now. But then suddenly, out of nowhere, a boat just appeared on the Ganges. And you couldn't believe it. And you jumped in the boat with your family, and you told the boatman, please take us across. I'll give you anything, I'll give you everything. I'll give you whatever I have. I'll give you my life. I'll be your servant for the rest of my life. Just take us across the Ganges. And Lord Chaitanya said, that boatman, that was me. I descended from Vaikuntha to save you. So like this, Lord Chaitanya is telling the devotees how, different things in different cases, but in these cases, how he had descended to save them, to save his devotees. And here's the last one, devotees. And this is him talking to Haridas Thakur at the same time. But listen to this, there's a blessing here. Anyone who hears this pastime of Lord Chaitanya and Haridas Thakur with proper faith will certainly enjoy the fruit of Krishna Prema. Got it? You heard that? You heard that? You heard that? Julie, you heard that? Okay. So you got to listen now. You've got to really listen. Because if you listen, you'll get Krishna Prema. So Lord Chaitanya has been calling all these different devotees, like we said, Then he called Haridas Thakur. He said, look at me, Haridas. Your body and birth is superior to mine. And your class and caste is more elevated than mine. Listen, Haridas, when you were lashed with the whip in the marketplaces, I took up my Sudarshan disc and descended to earth from Vaikuntha, intending to destroy the tormentors. But when they were trying to beat you to death, all along, you were thinking for their well-being. You were unconcerned about your own pain. You had only compassion for them. And because of this, I could not kill them. I was not able to kill them. My Sudarshan disc was rendered impotent. But unable to see your misery, I lay across your back. And I took the whipping on my back. And then Lord Caitanya said, you remember, they whipped you and whipped you and whipped you and whipped you and whipped you. But at the end, you felt fine, normal, no problem. And Haridas said, yeah, I remember that. Unbelievable, completely unbelievable. And Lord Caitanya said, yes, I lay across your back. I took that whipping for you. And then Lord Caitanya turned his back to Haridas Thakur, and Haridas saw the scars on the back of Lord Caitanya. So and Lord Caitanya says, see the marks on my back. I am not lying. Whatever other secondary reasons there were for my descent, unable to bear your sufferings, I hastened my advent to this world. And Vrindavan Das Thakur concludes by saying, our beloved Lord Caitanya is very proficient in expanding the glories of his devotees. He will say or do anything to glorify and protect his devotees. He will even swallow fire for his devotees and willingly become his devotees' slave. Hare Krishna. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Bol. So there you go, devotees. Anyway, I'm sorry if I told some stories that you knew already. I mean, there's others. Next time. Hare Krishna.